as quickly as you can say it. J.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, it, I.
Yeah, it, I.
Now the vowels.
A, O.
A, O.
E.
E.
It, I.
It, I.
F, O.
No, o.
O, U.
O, U.
U, U,
Oh, good. So again.
B. Cus. D. G. H. J. K. B.
Did you say two sounds? Two sounds.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, E, O, I.
Yeah, I. Hiccup. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, E,
Now the vowels.
I. E, O.
A, O.
E, E.
E.
E, I.
It, I.
O, U.
O,
U.
U.
Very good. I'm amazed. That's a lot, right? That's 26 phonograms out of 70. That's over a third. That's very good. One so far. Very good. Okay, let's let Pranav do it. I know he can. These little ones, they surprise you. You think nothing's happening up there. They're percolating. She uses that word. They're quiet, but something's going on. Let's see how much he can give us. Okay, ready, set, go.
The first one.
The first one.
Yeah, it, I.
Yeah, it, I.
Take a knee on him. It's the first step. Donkey, right? Second sound names the letter A. A. Say it, A. Good. A. Very good. Next. Okay. Next.
A,
Mouse.
E.
Elephant. He has to hiccup, right? It. I.
It, I.
Geometry. O. Good. Yeah, these take a lot of practice. He did it pretty well. Little ones, lots of practice. This is difficult. All right? Hare Krishna. 21 consonants, the yellow background, the 5 vowels with the red background and the heart because they're the heart of a syllable. Now we see 5 squares that are blue. These are the 5 spellings for For. Okay, don't look at mommy, look at your chart. All right. We learn a mnemonic sentence. Mnemonic is a Greek word that means memory. So there are tricks that help us remember things. Okay? They help us remember things. Often we'll learn a sentence that will help us remember. I remember when I was a child and I had to learn music. To learn the notes on the keyboard for the piano, we would learn face, F-A-C-E. Those were the spaces on the treble clef. And then every good boy does fine. Those were the lines on the treble clef. And then for the bass clef, it was good boys do fine always. And I can't remember what the spaces were. It's been so many years now. Every good boy does fine, something like that. Anyway. But the point is, a sentence will help us remember. Will help us remember, okay? So we're going to learn a sentence now before we do the blue ones. Are we ready? Pranav has had a little bit of a preview of this. We're going to point to this painting of Srimati Radharani. Here, okay? And we're going to say her. Her. Use your right hand. Her. 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 That's the first word. Her. The second word we're going to use is use your same hand. First. First, use your right hand. Your first birthday. Right? You'll see it on the slideshow. You'll see that Krishna's showing his first birthday. It's a picture of his Abhishek. And you'll see pictures of many Madajis there giving him a bathing and people worshiping him. So we use that picture on the CD. Are we ready? Again, her. Now the second word is first. Now the third word, we're adding one more to the hurdle. If you're sick at the Gurukula, you have to go see the nurse, right? Nurse. Oh, my headache. Mataji. I don't want to go to class right now. My head hurts too much. Nurse. Let's repeat now. Her. First. Nurse. Right? One more time. Her. Then use your same finger. First. Nurse. Now, this nurse is very devotional. She's a devotee. She goes to the temple. She worships. That's your fourth one. Worships. Hold your hands together. Ready? So let's go back and do the 4 now. We know 4 out of 5. Her. First. Nurse. Worships. The last one. She goes to Mangala Arati. Early. Okay? Let's do the 5 now. Those are the 5 spellings for and those are the words that we use to remember them. Okay? Ready? Her. First. Nurse. Early. That was very good. Now we have to add, when we say the phonograms, we have to add one more thing. So now we're going to add one more thing, and that means we know these phonograms. This is fast one. We work so hard on the red ones. Krishna's giving us a break. Are we ready? Now we say her as in her.
As in her.
Right? right, because this is the example of this phonogram. We have to have an example. If 5 things are the same, we have to have an example to know, well, which one do I refer to? So point to it, say as in her.
As in her.
Because when you see the word her, you'll see that spelling. First spelling, all right? Second one. As in first.
As in first.
Good. Now let's point to the third one. Say as in nurse.
As in nurse.
Now we've done 3. Let's go back and review. As in her.
As in her.
The second one. As in first.
As in first.
The third one. Point. As in nurse.
As in nurse.
Now the fourth one. As in worships.
As in worship.
Good. Let's review the 4. As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worships.
As in worship.
And we add the 5th one. As in early.
As in early.
Okay? Now let's do all 5. See how quickly. As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worships.
As in worship.
As in early.
As in early.
So first we practice slowly, but then we don't want to be bored. So then we learn to practice quickly. All right? Her, first, nurse, worships early.
Her first nurse worshipped early.
Okay, now we don't have to point to the pictures, let's just say them. Repeat, let's do one drill without the gestures. As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worships.
As in worship.
As in early.
As in early.
Let's try them in black and white.
And the last R is like ears.
It looks like ear, but that's another phonogram. You'll see, this is as in early. Okay, it's a 3-letter phonogram. That's why you have to underline it. We'll see that. Ready, everybody? As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worships.
As in worship.
As in early.
As in early.
All right, we'll let Sri Yashoda try them.
Is there one question? It's not word?
No, it's as in In other words, when OR is preceded by a W, it says Like an example would be word, or work, or worthy.
But we don't pronounce the W.
No. Well, when you say the word worship, you do.
Yes.
Right, but as in worship, because the OR after the W takes on that sound. Okay, same one with the early, it looks like ear, but later you'll see we have a phonogram for ear. It's a different one. E-A-A, E-A-A. Okay, but this is as in early. Are we ready? Okay, listen and follow. Sri Yashoda is going to lead this drill. Here we go. Okay. The W makes the O sound like a, or the O-R sound like a. Examples: word, worthy, worship, work. W is in that phonogram, but we're just focusing on the sound. Okay, straight. Here we go. Repeat. She's leading the drill.
As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worship.
As in worship.
As in early.
As in early.
Perfect. Say one more time, Manishi.
As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As
first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worship.
As in worship.
As in early.
As in early.
Okay.
As in her.
As in her.
As in first.
As in first.
As in nurse.
As in nurse.
As in worship.
As in worship.
As in early.
As in early.
All right, now everyone point to as in nurse. Which one is as in nurse? Which one is as in her? As in early? As in worships? As in first? Very good. Okay, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. We have a question here that's important in the 5 spellings for Go ahead.
Mataji, I don't understand why the W is not pronounced, why you don't say were.
Okay, when we learn the phonogram, she's asking why the phonogram, the 4th spelling for the sound is a 3-letter phonogram. But we say, when we learn it, we say just the She's asking why we don't pronounce the W when we teach the phonogram. The answer is that OR by itself would be confused with the phonogram OR or. After the W, OR in English takes on the sound of UR. Word. Alright. So we teach it but we have to have the W there to show that it's pronounced as in not war. As in, when we use the word worships or work. Or word. Example would be word or worthy. Okay. English is derived from many languages. That's why we have difficulty with the spelling. There have been historically influences from many, many different languages, from the Romans, from the Greeks, from many of the Northern European languages influences. So Old English, you'll see certain things coming up. That's why English has such strange combinations. But the Spalding has worked all of them out practically, except for 7%. Some words don't even fit that. English is strange. 50% of the words are not spelled with any sound. So that's the high percentage. It means heavy memorization. But once you know the Spalding, a child already, you could see, he already knows there are 5 ways to spell If you just ask anybody who speaks English casually, how many ways do you spell They probably never thought about it. Right? They just do it from habit. But someone learning a language, either as a child or as a second language, will question, why do I spell it this way? You understand?
Yes.
That's why this is very good for ESL adults as well as children who are first learning. Because the first thing an ESL person will say is, why is it spelled like that? It doesn't make sense. Historically there's a reason, but this puts it into at least a simple format. And when spelling words are present, any phonogram that's more than 1 letter has to be underlined. We've already learned qua, right? So if we have the word quick, the child will do this. The 2-letter phonogram qua, the single letter phonogram I, and the 2-letter phonogram ka, the 2-letter ka. That is how the child will explain this word. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 letters, but there are how many phonograms? 3. So already it helps, what shall I say, chunk the learning. They use that term, chunk the learning. puts it into bigger categories so they can actually break things down. Kwa, if I, k, the two-letter k. And on a test, the child will write, but underline. That way it's not, how do you spell quick? Well, it's Q-U-I-C-K. But that, all those sounds have nothing to do with quick. If I say Q-U-I-C-K, very, very distant in sound. But if I have phonograms, I say kwa, ik, k. Three sounds. Kwa, ik. So a child decodes very quickly. Kwa. They hear the word from the teacher. Kwa, ik, quick. They decode rapidly. You see, once they've mastered this, you'll watch it happen. They decode practically any sized word. Otherwise, years. And the spelling is correct because they've been taught the phonograms. From the very beginning, the spelling is correct. And they'll know the rules. Why is the CK here? They'll learn that as they do it. First rule, first pronunciation rule, Q always goes with U. They know that. Other people probably never gave it much thought.
That's in the 26 rules.
Yes, the 26, right, 29.
29.
Right. Okay. Does that answer the question? And you'll see when we start writing the phonograms, actually the way we're doing it is just an overview drill so that you can all learn it. And we have an emergency. But the Spalding teaches it by writing them. Does not do it this way. They do 4 a day and they write them because writing is very powerful. Right now we're not doing that.
After they've mastered the shapes.
After they master the letter and the shape, then they start the phonograms.
Then you start phonograms.
Then they start the
And then after they've learned the first 4 phonograms, they would write it and say it.
Yes, right.
Whatever exercises you
Right.
can artistically
They spend
think
about a
of, you
month.
can
Right.
do. Right.
They spend a month doing that.
Okay.
So, but we're
1
trying
month
to.
on 4 phonograms.
I'm sorry.
1 month.
No, 1 day on 4.
Oh.
4 a day.
Okay.
But they're written and then they're mastered the writing as well.
Okay.
First the features, and then they apply them to the alphabet. They learn the alphabet, and then they start the phonograms. We're just doing an overview through drill. This is just visual and audio.
Yes.
But the proper way, that takes longer than what our teaching session allows.
Yeah.
So we have to do an overview through just audio, visual. We're not taking the time to write these. Because that means the preliminary practice of knowing how to do all the letters properly. You see how I'm writing the letters?
Right.
2, 10, 8, 4, straight line, slanted line.
Yeah.
2, 10, 8, 4, straight line, slanted line, slanted line. It's all explained. Underscore the phonogram. All this is known. By the time, then you do 10 spelling words a day, and it really goes fast.
And they also memorize those words, is it?
It's not memorized. They know, they understand. Yeah.
You'll understand it.
Yeah.
Okay.
So already we've had 2 sessions with the phonograms, and the first 2 sessions included youngsters. Now we're going to work with just the adults in training. This should help us go a little more quickly. This morning, our first exercise was to do an overview, and we did it in 2 stages. We did the numerical overview of the number of phonograms, the number of phonograms that were consonants, vowels, so it was a numerical overview. After that, we did a classification overview according to color on the chart or little pictures. Anything that would help us break down the amount of material to be learned. And we did sessions on drills. We videoed doing, now we're breaking it down even further. We were doing 1 section of 7 at a time, coming down the rows. And after a morning of videoing, we accomplished the 21 consonants, and we learned the 5 vowels, and we covered the 5 spellings for her The total for that was it 25 or 30? 35? Was it 35? 21 plus 5. Oh, I'm sorry, 26 plus 5, 31. Not quite 30, not quite half actually. Almost half of the phonograms. Five columns would be half of 10 columns here. So in this session, our objective now is to master the rest of the chart. Okay, see that? And again, we're going to work according to columns. We see systematic. This morning we also did a quick assessment of pictures and codes and matching and connections, but we'll be systematic now. We'll just work down the chart. Previously, we ended with the little blue squares, so that took us almost halfway down the fifth column. So we want to complete the fifth column. It's a carryover of those 5 spellings for our first worships, really. And we will continue and complete this column and do 1 carryover. Because we have a match there, so this is logical. So we are now going to learn 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 before we start another column. All right? And then we'll end those, because that way people can just focus on 1 column at a time. So we ended with the final spelling, as in worship. I'm sorry, as in early. And we have first the star. We had talked about that there were 4 stars on the chart. And we use the star to show that they shine. So this is an SH sound. Shh. And now we're going to be telling you more about the phonograms than we did with the children, because with the children, they get tired and bored, and actually when I'm working just with children, we don't even make it this laborious for them. They were getting tired and a little bit antsy, but we were trying to meet 2 levels of interest. Here we're just worried about adults learning, so we can, I think, accelerate and also go in depth more as we discuss a phonogram. So here we have sh, spelled SH, and on the back you can see it, SH. So this phonogram, and any phonogram that's more than 1 letter, is underlined. Okay. This one we say sh, the plain one, because later we'll see these have they're in a special category. SH, and this is a rule, you'll find it in the pronunciation and spelling rules, SH will be used at the beginning of a word and at the end. Okay, like shoe or shine or dish, SH. So we call this the plain one. The other SH combinations that we'll be learning are actually used to change a word from one part of speech to another. And there are rules for that. But this one is a beginning and ending sound. It's fixed. Shoe or dish. Okay. So we call this one sh, the plain one. Now I don't know, particularly Chandrika told me that. Now why it's called the plain one, I'm not sure, but I just did what she taught me. She was the first one to teach me phonograms way back in '92. So that's easy enough. All right. So that's our first hurdle. The next one is pretty obvious. E-double-E. E-double-E. So we'll repeat the plain one.
The plain one.
E-double-E.
E-double-E.
The next phonogram has 2 sounds. The first sound, and we should be careful to pronounce these carefully, a little bit difficult, putting the tongue between the teeth, as in think. Phonograms teach us how to think. The second sound is the tongue actually starts to tickle the upper lip. You'll feel it vibrating.
Yes.
So when we point to this phonogram, we say right? Notice no vowel sound. And you feel the second one, a vibration, quite a bit. Almost disturbing, isn't it? This, that, those. Think, thing. Okay. So we'll repeat sh, the plain one. E double E. Not to, just. Just think of a word that starts with TH. Think. We don't say yes and this, that, those. The next phonogram is a combination of an A and a Y. And this is one of what we call the twins. You'll see two squares that are orange with a little pattern. And they introduce an important spelling principle, which again, most people even who know English probably haven't realized. Just because they learned the language from childhood, they didn't question why it was the way it was, never thought about it later because it wasn't necessary. But Spalding explains that in English, if we have a vowel sound at the end of a word, an A or a W will be added in most cases at the end of a word. So here we have AY, and it's pronounced A. So you see now we have now we're getting a number of sounds that are the same, especially for vowels. So they have to be distinguished by some kind of little phrase. So when we teach this one, we say A, and we use our hand, the two-letter A. Otherwise, we might think it's another A. We have other A's that are 3 and 4. We have a 4-letter A. But this is A, the two-letter A. Then we have to say something quite lengthy that we can use at the end of an English word.
That we can use. Can or can't?
Can use at the end of an English word. Now, at the beginning, with very small children who are not so inclined to speak a great deal, it takes a lot of prompting to get them to say the whole thing. They tend to rather not, but they have to say it because it's important. Otherwise, we'll be confusing one phonogram with another. A, the two-letter A, and we nod that we can use at the end of an English word. And again, the spelling pronunciation rule is that in English, usually a vowel placed at the end of the word will have a Y or a W. We'll go up to its twin. You see the combination AI, and here you go, AI on this side, AY here, AI here. Again, A, same sound. Two-letter A, same signal, but this time we say that we cannot use at the end of an English word. And I'll give both of you an example. We don't necessarily give examples to the children. It gets to be almost too much mental overload. The idea is for them to have automaticity and recognition. So too much information blocks that. An adult may need it for the teaching sake of it, but a child we don't put too much because we want them to be able to decode quickly. And if there's too much information that's not essential, then it interrupts the flow of decoding. So this is an example would be, please pay the bill. Please pay, P-A-Y, pay the bill. I already paid that bill. And even though we don't pronounce it this way, please say the phonograms. Now, at one time, some people used to say said, but it's more like said now. But you see the spelling. P-A-Y and P-A-I. Internally, we don't use the Y. Most people, did you ever know this before or notice it? That's what I'm saying. You see, yes, long forgotten. So you see, this puts a child at a very high level of awareness, you know, with words and spelling and understanding, and there's a rule behind it. So review these and add this column. Shh, the plain one.
The plain one.
E double E.
E double E.
A, the two-letter A,
the two-letter A
that we can use
that we can use
at the end of an English word.
at the end of an English word.
And all of that must be spoken by the child. The last phonogram, A, the two-letter A,
The two-letter A
that we cannot use
that we cannot
at the
use
end of an English word.
at the end of an English word.
Okay, so that ends the fifth column of phonograms. And that completes half of the phonograms. Hare Krishna. We're now in the sixth column. That leaves us just a total of 5 to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we've already done the first phonogram. A, the two-letter A that we cannot use at the end of an English word. Now in this column, if you notice, we have 2 green squares and we have 2 bluish-purple squares. And we have 2 white squares. Now, previously we had 2 orange squares. All of these, except for the white ones, are twins, right? They had the same sound. But the white ones, the first one has 2 sounds, and the second one has 2 sounds plus 2 more. So I couldn't make them identical. That's why I left them a little bit different. But in a way, they're twins, almost. The second one will make 4 sounds, and the first one makes 2 sounds. So I couldn't quite, but they're grouped with these other ones, where we have the W at the end of the first one. But we don't teach it that way, we just give the 2 sounds, because they're both not the same. But I call them almost twins. They're not identical twins, they're okay? So we have to look at this as a group. These 2 are a set in a way, almost. These 2 are a set, and the bottom 2 are a set. So this shouldn't be too difficult to learn, except that these have more than 1 sound. That makes it a little difficult, all right? The first one has 2 sounds, ow, ho. Okay, and I would teach with the children if something made a sound that they could remember. Ow, oh. And I used to say we go to the doctor because we have some where we go and we pinch at 6 places. Right, you go to the doctor and there's pain and they're going to say a different sound. So here we have 1 pinch, we say ow, oh. Okay, 2 places this hurts, okay? The next one, we go to the doctor and it hurts in 4 places. Okay? This one is ow, oh, ooh,
Ow, oh, ooh, ah.
Okay? First one was ow, oh. The second one is the same first 2 sounds, right? So they're almost, okay? Ow, oh, ooh, And you can see how close many of these are with other sounds we were learning with O's and U's. So that's why all these subtle differentiations have to be made. That's why when we were doing the vowels, we were stressing the second letter. O, U, The teacher has to help the child have clues as to which phonogram is being presented or to be produced on the test. And the children can do it eventually. I can say ow, o, u, and I can say right after it, o, u. And I can say oo, o. They have to be able to produce the right one. So it's a bit of a thinking challenge. You can see it's challenging, but the mind can do it. You just have to practice and these little differentiations. Okay, the next 2, the one on the top ends in a Y, right? So this is obviously the ending spelling. Simple sound, oi, that we can use at the end of an English word.
That we can use at the end.
Okay, an example would be boy, toy. The next one is its twin, oi, that we cannot use Ow, oh, ooh, ah.
Ow, oh, ooh, ah.
Oi,
Oi.
that we can use at the end of an English word.
Can use at the end of an English word.
Oi,
That we cannot use at the end of an English word.
so now we've learned 4 in this column. This is easy actually, really. The next 2 are also twins. The first of the 2 is the ending spelling. You see it here, A-W. Right? Ah, that we can use at the end of an English word.
That we can use at the end of an English word.
Ah, that we
That we
cannot
cannot
use at the end of an English word. So let's review. Ow, oh.
Ow, oh.
Next one.
Ow, oh, ooh, ah.
Next one. Oi.
That we can use at the end of an English word. Or that we cannot use at the end of an English word.
Ah, that we can use at the end of an English word.
Or that we cannot use at the end of an English word.
And I think we'll logically go to the next 2 twins in the next column just to keep this as a grouping. These 2 phonograms make 2 sounds, very similar. So this makes it a little bit more difficult, but again, you see there's a W on the first one, and the next one is, there's no W there. So you notice there was a Y or a W on the ones that are used at the end of an English word, and it's not the Y or W are not there, the combination for that sound that's used within a word. Ooh, you.
Ooh, you.
And what I did was, I added my own little thing to help children remember, but it happens to be a fret pattern, pink and red. And I would tell the children, this looks like a nice jelly roll. And I would say, ooh, you. That we can use at the end of an English word.
That we can use at the end of an
And I would
English
say
word.
that, ooh, you make good jelly rolls. Ooh, you make good jelly rolls. The next one is, ooh, you. That we cannot use
That
at
we
the end.
cannot use at the end of an English word.
She didn't teach that jelly roll thing, but I just happened to add something that the children would, anything to help them remember. Ooh, you. Make nice jelly rolls. Okay, so we'll review now. Okay. Now the doctor's really giving us a hard time. Ow, oh, ooh, ah.
Ow, oh, ooh, ah.
Later, the very last phonogram, he's going to give us a really hard time when we have to pinch 6 parts. These are 2, 4, and then on the last phonogram we have to do 6. But they're ready because they've already been to the doctor.
Yes.
Oi, that we can use at the end of an English word.
Oi, that we can use at the end of an English word.
Not up and down, and oi that we cannot use.
Oi, that we cannot use at the end of an English word.
Aw,
Or that we can use at the end of an English word. Or that we cannot use at the end of an English word.
ooh, you.
Ooh,
That
you.
we can use at the end of an
Can
English
use at the end of an English word.
Ooh, you. That we
We
cannot
cannot use at the end of an English word.
Let's try it black and white because these become confusing for the children. That's why writing is so essential in the phonograms, because now it's easy to remember because they can write that. But to write O-W, O-U, O-Y, O-I, A-W, A-U. And for a beginning child, especially say like a 5-year-old, is going to have to really practice a lot to produce these. So a lot of energy and effort goes into practicing these combinations that are close, the vowel sounds, so that they immediately recognize it and produce it on the test. Ow, oh. Ow, oh, ooh. Oi, that we can use at the end of an English word.
Oi, that we can use at the end of an English word.
Oi, that we cannot use at the end of an English word.
Oi, that we cannot use at the end of an English word.
Ah, that we can use at the end of an English word.
Or that we can use at the end of an English word.
Ah, that we cannot use at the end of an
Or
English
that we
word.
cannot use at the end of an English word.
Ooh, you.
Ooh, you.
That we can use at the end of an English word.
English word.
And ooh, you. That we cannot use at the end of an Jelly Krishna, the seventh column. We've done the first two, the twins, the Jelly Roll twins. Now if we task analyze before we start, we always task analyze. I got this from Spalding. Task analysis. It just helps you think before you start. Right? This is the mode of goodness. Actually, it says one who thinks before he does something is in the mode of goodness. To just act on something is in the mode of passion. If we think before we speak, right, we'll be careful. If we think before we do something, we'll think about what are the predicted outcomes of this action, what would be the reaction for this action, right? So, same thing applies. If we think about something before we do it, it's more and more goodness. It's intelligent, all right? So let's do a task analysis here. We have only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left in this column. 2 of them have a little cartoon, a little colored drawing. The other 3 out of the 5 are black and white. 2 of them are very easy. They make only 1 sound. And 3 of them are more challenging because 3 make 3 sound. But we figure out ways to make that easy to learn. So the first of the new ones we're taking on is a little drawing about an owl. And we've used the 2 O's, right, to become his glasses. Right? And I always had the children, when we did this one, make 2 O's, put on their glasses when we did this one, okay? Now this makes many of the other sounds, it's just a different order. So this one starts out with ooh, second sound is book, and the third sound is o. It ends with o. So remember the vowel o, the o sound was in the middle. Remember ah, o, oo.
Yes.
So you see how close these are? It takes a lot of sound discrimination. This one is ooh, book, o. 3 sounds. Ooh, book. Oh, the O sound is last. So we put on our glasses and we say ooh, oh. Now a phonogram like this, in a word, would be the 2 O's would be underlined. There it is. And depending on which of the sounds it is, if the first sound we do not, if it's the first or only sound, we don't put a 1. But if there's a second sound, or a third, or up to 6th, the number is put over the combination to show which sound, so the child knows, what do I say here? Do I say ooh? Do I say boat? Or do I say oh? So when he writes the word, the designation is marked. It's underlined to show it's a combination, and the numeral will tell us which of the sounds, if it's more than 1. The sound 1 is not used, otherwise everything would have a 1. Right? But if it has more than 1 sound, from that point on we number them. Okay? So this one's ooh, second sound we would put a 2, and for the third one, oh, we would put a 3. Okay? The next phonogram, the combination of CH letters, right? This also makes 3 sounds. And to learn this easily, we compared this to the old steam engines on the railroad. You don't see them so much now, mostly diesel engines. The old steam engines had a rod that moved around with the wheels, right? If you ever old movies.
Piston.
Yes, right. And then, of course, there was steam coming out of the front of the engine, right? Because they're often run by steam locomotives. So we say this is the sound for the steam locomotive. All 3. We did this a little bit with your boy. Did we do this a little bit? The first sound is ch. So we take our hand and we pretend now we're showing how a steam locomotive, how the rod moves around as the wheels move, right? So So the first sound is ch. We pull the arm back. Ch. K. And often when you hear the brakes on those old trains, you could hear at the train station, and they're coming in like that, right? You can hear it still. Ch, k, ch, k. Now the second sound is k, like the letter k. There's some that I just couldn't quite, I didn't want to start putting too many things in one square. Better to just memorize it. But you say k, two-letter k. Second sound here is k. Ch, 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 k. Just the way they release the brakes, and you hear it like that. Ch. They like doing this one. Ch, k. Choo-choo train. I probably could have put a little train cartoon. After a point, it would have been. I just felt it's going to be too much clutter. The next one's really easy, NG. We have it here, NG. This is our one Krishna conscious one. We'd like to go like the shring, the shring. So we'll review now. We put the glasses on. Ooh, oh. The first sound is the owl sound. Ooh, like ooh, right. Ooh. It's the first sound. And the O, it was the last sound. Ah, oh, oh. And this one is the first sound. Ooh, like ooh. Ooh. Oh, oh. Oh. We have a lot of body language with these now. When there's more than one sound, you have to do it. Okay. The next one, we have a triangle here. We have two letters for this phonogram. Okay, the letters are EA. Makes three sounds, so we put a triangle. So I point to the bottom left corner of the triangle and I say E. A. Now, what I felt about the triangle was the E on the bottom left says its name, the A on the bottom right says its name, and the point says the other sound for E, F, the short sound for E, F.
It goes up.
It goes up. E, F, A, E, F, A. That wasn't so hard, was it? So three sounds. Again, if it's the second sound in a word, or the third, the number, the phonogram is always underlined no matter what, and then the numeral is placed above the phonogram. So you'll see a 2 or a 3. Okay? The last phonogram is obvious. This one looks the way it So let's review these. We have a few difficult ones, but we've tried to do things to iron out the problems. Okay, we have to put the glasses on. Do the owl. Ooh. Oh. Okay. The train, see you mentioned. Ch. K. Shh. Ooh. E. F. A. R. Let's try it black and white now. First one. Ooh. Oh. Ch. K. E, F, A, R. Okay, we have finished 7 columns of phonograms. Hare Krishna. For the 8th column, we learned 7 columns, which told us 49, 7 times 7, 49 phonograms. And it's another column of 7. 8 times 7 would make 56. By the time we get to the bottom of this column, we know 56 out of 7. Always have to keep telling yourself that you're progressing. And you do that with the children because they make you looking a lot. Okay, so let's task analyze. We see 3 phonograms have pattern or color, right? And 4 are black and white. And actually, we're going to have to take on the first phonogram of the next Because the last two black and white ones and the one in the top, I teach as a group, and those are the most difficult. But we try to figure out ways to make that easy. Those are the hardest. We have a picture of a boat. And the other ones, if we see, we have a little block pattern here. It's a little bit like what we call a raised cross, right? And it matches with the same pattern in the consonants. See, so we have a match here. And the same is true of the top phonogram. If you look in the consonants, the little pattern, the little print, like a calico print, it matches with one of the phonograms. So we have two matches here, and we have a little drawing. We have one that's very easy, two that are very hard, and the next one very hard. So we have to be prepared, Watch, there's a slippery road ahead, just to be prepared. That doesn't mean we can't do it, but we should know this is going to take a little more effort. And then we have the second one that's three sounds, but not difficult. Okay, task analysis. Always do that before you start. I always appreciate if you go to a doctor and he tells you what he's about to do. You feel confident. If a doctor doesn't articulate, it becomes scary. What's happening? But if a doctor's going to say, okay, now I have to give you an injection here, so just pull up your sleeve, and this might hurt a little bit, but he prepares you. He prepares you. That way you're braced for something that just doesn't say a word or doesn't explain what's happening. Explanation helps people become secure. They know what to expect. Our first one is K. The two-letter K.
Two-letter K.
As you see, the pattern matches with just the single consonant K. This one is used at the end of a word. You do not start a word with this K, but you end it with this K. Kick, pack, trick.
This is just this is a CK?
CK. Here, you turn it over. C. K. K. The two-letter K. See its match. You have the word kick. It starts with K and ends with K. The two-letter. This is usually an ending spelling at the end of the word. The next phonogram has three sounds. Okay. And this is used in tenses and verbs. So depending on the letter that precedes this phonogram, you'll get the different pronunciations. So we say three sounds. Ed, D, T. This is used to turn a word, a verb, into the past tense. Okay. Play, played. And stop, stopped. You see how this different sound?
That's right.
Depending on the P, you can't say the same sounds, right? And learned. Okay. Ed. And you have it in cases like learned, right? He is learned, there's a noun. Learned. The man is learned, same spelling, but learned is the past tense of the verb. So ed, d, t. This is used on verbs to change them into a past tense. Let's review. K, the two-letter K.
The two-letter K.
Ed, d, t. Ed, d, t. The next one is as it appears, or. It's as easy as R. These are two very easy ones, easy face combination. Let's review. The two-letter K. Ed, d, t. All right. Now you don't want to put any vowel sounds, so we just say ed, d, t. Ed, d, t. Or. The next one is almost identical. I use the same pattern. But we have to add a little hand gesture, which Spalding recommends. This phonogram has the same little pattern. It's pronounced wood. Wood. Okay. This one, it reminds me of the Hindi. The Hindi often has, there'll be a letter that'll say g, and another one will say gh, right? Right? There'll be that aspirate after, right? And it's subtle, because for those of us who are used to that, or Sanskrit, it all sounds the same. You can't really tell unless you're sharp or you know the different letter. So in this case, so this is strange, and I've seen it explained in Dale Carnegie's book on public speaking. People don't say it this way. But apparently, according to the old rules of pronunciation, the aspirant is before rather than after. And you're supposed to put the child put the hand up and actually feel, the breath that goes with the H sound. So this is what? What? It's almost the what? Why? What? So we go what? You should actually be able to feel the extra aspirate. What? So this one would just be what? And this one would be what? The H sound is before rather than after. What? Okay. Now normally we don't say anything different, right? If you say the weather is very hot, and you say whether or not, then it's WH. We pretty much pronounce it the same, but actually in proper English it's whether or not. Whether. Yes, the old dictionaries will show that. Dale Carnegie will tell you that. It's that good. Quick scan your little book. Okay, let's review. K, the two-letter K.
The two-letter K.
Or. The next one's obvious. We have a little circle, like it's looking through our telescope at sea, right? From the lighthouse, from the shore. There's a little boat in there, a passion boat. This is just pronounced, these two letters together are pronounced O as in boat.
O as in boat.
Okay, so you can see on the map. What a difference it makes to have the little cartoon, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Okay, so we review now these. K, the two-letter K.
K, two-letter K.
T. Or. O as in boat.
O as in boat.
Now we're ready for taking on the three words. I haven't done mine so long, I'm always praying I'm not going to forget. I remember when I was doing the phonograms and Chandrika was in the school, she really didn't have time to go over much with me. And I remember I didn't have so many experiences with mnemonic tricks even on myself. But I had to spend such a long time trying to learn these three. So I figured I'm going to figure out a way to make this easier for other people, even though these took me a long time. Okay, these two, EY, let me see if they're EY, make three sounds. All three of these make three sounds. The first one is A, then we say the letter E, then we say I. Okay. So we say A, then we say E, and then we say it, like the hiccup of the elephant. It. Right? A, E, it. And the trick I use with the children, A, E, it. I had, right, just go down, okay. And say the first two, their letter name, and the second one, the short hiccup. A, E, it. A, E, it. You're getting a hiccup too, you're getting so into this. Okay, let's go back to the top. K, the two-letter K. Edita. Or. What? O as in boat.
O as in boat.
A, E, it.
A, E,
And I allowed them to point just until they, heard it enough that they memorized it. Because it gets to be confusing. Because now we're going to have the combination of the letter E and then an I. So we have EY and EI. Now, we would say maybe these were twins, because you see the Y and the EI, but actually, to learn them, the sound order is reversed. Okay, this one was A-E-I. This one, we just reverse it. This one was E-A-I. So we start with the middle. E, A, I. So the third sound is the same. And that's true of all three. The last sound is the same. So that makes it easy too. Anything to figure out how to make this easy. There are three. The last three sound is I. Okay. For these two, we start with A-E. The next one, we start with E-A. And we say I on both of them.
Is there any particular reason why the
Yes, frequency. Frequency of use. Everything's logical. You'll see A-E-I, A more than E. Everything's logical. And like this other phonogram, E-A-A or Chokosho. First one, most frequent. Second one, less frequent. Third, least frequent. Everything's completely logical. So you see how much the child knows. He's not going to see number 3 too much. Same way with the ers. Most often, is in her. Next, is in first. Less, is in nurse. Is in worship. Less, is in early, least. You'll see is in her all the time, all over the place. Everything. Everywhere. Next, is in first. So it's frequency in her. So that's how she determined which sound should be placed where and how they should be learned. She's completely intelligent. Yes, okay. So this one again, we'll practice this one again. This one is E, then A, and then I. The third one are all the same, okay? Take a look at it again in black and white. E, A, I. Alright, now let's try this column, and we'll tackle the last one. We're getting close to the end. Almost home. K, the two-letter K. And T. Or Kwa. O as in boat. A, E, I. Now turn it around. E, A, I. Now the next one. Okay, we're going to take on the last one in this section. And I told the children to point to the last one first. We say E-I. So here you can also do this. We just go E-I. Okay? E-I. E, you start with the last letter of 2. E-I. So now let's practice all of these. We're getting very close to the home run. The two-letter K. And or Kwa. O is in boat. A, E, I. Now turn it around. E, A, I. Okay, now the next one is E, I. Okay, you've done the worst of them. Not so bad. Hare Krishna. We're now about to do the 9th column. That leaves us one after this. So by the end, we're coming near the home stretch. Let's do task analysis. Every one of these has a picture or a pattern. And we see a mountain. We see an apple. Actually, the apple does not fit in all regards. It's just the sound. Not even that, actually. I don't know. I should have chosen something better for that one. The next one, you see a pattern match on the other side. And you see another one, the same pattern as the pencil. You see a little pencil. And you see, it's a little harder to read with the flower here, flower pattern. So we look at the white side here. We have IGH, EIGH, KN, GN, WR, and PH letter combinations. All right, let us begin. The first one, 3-letter phonogram makes one sound. I've drawn a little mountain back there. It's very high. I, the 3-letter I.
I, the 3-letter I.
So easy, right? We do not hear the GH. The next one, this is A, the 4-letter A.
A, the 4-letter A.
You can see right away how a child can spell the word 8. I guess I just was thinking of A for apple, but it doesn't fit the spelling of apple, so it was a bad example in one regard.
That's nice, but easy to remember for the child.
For the child, yes, but I should have thought of something that was 8, maybe like 8, I don't know what, but anyway, 8 for apple, but it says A. But even apple is not pronounced able, it is pronounced apple, so in 2 regards it's not ideal, either in terms of letters. Just often people teach A for apple, but you can see why that's not an ideal way to teach. It doesn't take into account the 2 other sounds. You see how much more developed this is. When we learned the vowel A, we learned A, ah. But usually they'll show you an A, this is for apple. Then what happens to the other sounds? Other 2 sounds. So you can see how much more evolved this is. I, the 3-letter I.
I, the 3-letter I.
A,
A,
the 4-letter A.
A, the 4-letter A.
Now the next 2, both say and amazingly, the first 2 letters are silent. So the first one, we have to designate, we say and we say the 2-letter
The 2-letter
tall one,
tall one.
because this is a tall letter. So let's repeat. I,
I, the
3-letter
3-letter I.
I. A, the 4-letter A, the 2-letter, the tall one. The next one is the 2-letter, I call it the long one,
The long one.
okay, because it's a descender. Okay? So it's amazing children understand, because normally you see the word knowledge, but you don't really think about, well, where's the K? And you'll see the word like, coming from Greek, Gnostic or Nat, gnomes, yes. And also the word sign, please sign your name, design, G is silent, so it's at the end of communicating, G is silent. Benign, reign, the reign of King Henry VIII, no G. Well, that's actually an IG. No, it's GN. Okay. I, the 3-letter
I, the 3-letter I.
A, the 4-letter A.
A, the 4-letter A.
The 2-letter the tall one.
The 2-letter the tall one.
The 2-letter the long one.
The 2-letter the long one.
Okay, so far we only have 2 more to go in this section. You see a little pencil here. This is the 2-letter phonogram. And we pronounce this as we did the R. We roll this one. R. And we say R. The 2-letter R.
The 2-letter
And I added as in right.
as in right.
And I used a pencil for this one, and I used a book for a read. R. The read. And right. The pictures there. Those are my own ads. Okay, so we review again. I, the 3-letter I.
I, the 3-letter I.
A, the 4-letter A.
A, the 4-letter A.
The 2-letter the tall one.
The 2-letter the tall one.
The 2-letter the long one.
The 2-letter the long one.
The 2-letter as in right.
And the 2-letter as in right.
And last one, PH. You see it over here, PH. There's a flower. Actually, there is a flower that's called a flock. It's spelled with a PH. So I use the F for flower, flock. So that's another
And
PH.
I say full. Yes.
Which one?
Flower in Hindi is full.
Oh, really?
PH?
Yes, that's interesting. But I use another thing when we're teaching this, when I say the two-letter, and I go like this. The two-letter as phone. And then we say, Krishna, bye-bye. Because when we chant Hare Krishna, we're calling him on telephone, Hare Krishna. The two-letter as in phone. Normally I don't add too many, but if I think something's going to help them remember, I'll make it a little easy. So now we will drill this row, and then do it in black and white, and then we'll complete this list. I, the three-letter I.
I, the three-letter I.
A, the four-letter A.
A, the four-letter A.
And the two-letter N, the tall one.
The two-letter N, the tall one.
And the two-letter N, the long one.
The two-letter N, the long one.
The two-letter as in right.
The two-letter as in right.
The two-letter
Two-letter
as in full.
as in phone.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We're now about to do the last column of 7, at the end of which we will know 70 phonograms. Up until now, we know 63. That's pretty good. The last 7 will make it 70. If we take a task analysis approach, everyone has a picture. We look to see which ones are what we can recognize. Well, we see a pattern in the first one. We see a drawing of a foot. In the second one, we see a ghost. We see 3 stars. We've had 1 star before. And at the bottom, we see a number 6. So these are all clues that help us learn quickly and make it fun. In the first phonogram, we see stripes, diagonal stripes that match the right across the chart. Amazing. Bottom left, same pattern. Okay. And then we've had before a circle with that little boat. And here another little circle. We're taking a look at something through a telescope. And a little ghost, but he looks friendly.
Yeah.
Casper. Okay, the 3 stars. Remember, these are a little different because these are used to change a word from one part of speech to another. And the last one, we go to the doctor at the very end of the phonograms for our final injections. And the pain is over. At that point, we finished. No more pain. We've learned it. Okay, ready to go about this? J. The 3-letter J.
The three-letter J.
Same sound as J. That's why we have the matching pattern. Okay. The next one is easy. O, as in toe.
As in
So
toe.
we should go to the toe. O, as in toe. Let's go back. J,
J.
three-letter J. O, as in toe.
As in toe.
The next one, GH. See, GH. Good. As in ghost.
As in ghost.
Now, actually, there are a couple of these phonograms that in the newer edition, this book, which came out after I had developed this chart, have slightly altered phonograms. I think they use GU instead, as in guest, instead of GH. She has changed that. But I had already done this, and I wasn't about to go doing all this again just to change one phonogram. I think that this one is now GU.
Does it matter? Does it matter?
I didn't think it was so important because she does list in the book other phonograms combinations that are not frequent enough to have included them in the chart. Like RH, like in rheumatism, or PN, like in pneumonia. They're so seldom, right? But But she mentions that. PN like in pneumonia. These are like disease words, medical terms. You don't see them that often in general language. Okay? So I just kept the little ghost. I thought he was cute. Good as in ghost.
Good as in ghost.
Okay? J, the three-letter J.
The three-letter J.
O as in toe.
O as in toe.
G as in ghost.
G as in ghost.
Now these three present a little bit of a problem, but not much. We know that they say shh. And this is a taller letter, the TI, not a full-size tall letter, but almost 1.5 spaces. So we say shh, the tall one.
The tall one.
The next one is SI. This one has two sounds, not just sh. Because S has two sounds. If you recall, the letter S says S, Z. This one will say SHZH. Sh. Not just Z, but ZH. There's a special sound there, as in vision. You can say it when you don't think about it. If you try to say it before you think of an example, it might be a little difficult. But if you say, we don't watch much television, vision, the S there makes the ZH sound, right? Vision. Okay. But if we say we're having a teaching session, here it makes SH sound. So S makes Z, 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 and this makes sh, sh. So two sounds for this one. Let's go back to the top. J, the three-letter J.
J, the three-letter J.
O as in toe.
O as in toe.
G as in ghost.
G as in ghost.
Sh, the tall one.
Sh, the tall one.
Sh. Okay, now we're going to add one more. The next one is also sh, just one sound. CI. See it here in black and white. CI. This one makes one sound. We call this one sh, the short one.
Sh, the short one.
Okay, so now we're reading this. J, the three-letter J.
J, the three-letter J.
O as in toe.
O as in toe.
G as in ghost.
G as in ghost.
Sh, the tall one.
Sh, the tall one.
Sh, 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 short one.
Sh, the short one.
Now the last phonogram. Here we are at the end. 6 sounds. There's the 6. We have to go to the doctor again. All right. So we do these sort of like, so we have to pinch ourselves 6 times on this one. Oh, ooh.
Oh, ooh.
Now the next two, we add a f sound at the end. Off, off.
Off, off.
Now notice we do not see the F here. That's why English is so curious. Off. I think, what words are like that? But there are words like that. You use them all the time and you don't think about it. Rough and cough. Rough and cough. Off. Don't think about it, but no F, but we say F. You can see how much this helps children with spelling. All those mystery words that don't make sense. Oh, ooh.
Oh, ooh.
Off, off.
Off, off.
And the last two. Ow.
Oh,
That
ow.
last pinch. And it's over. Okay, let's repeat that one. Oh, ooh.
Oh, ooh.
Off, off.
Off, off.
Aw, ow.
Oh, ow.
Very good. Now let's try this all in black and white. This last one. J, the three-letter J.
J, the three-letter J.
O as in toe.
O as in toe.
G as in ghost.
G as in ghost.
Sh, the tall one.
Sh, the tall one.
Sh,
Sh,
sh, the short one.
sh, the short one.
O, ooh.
Oh, ooh.
Off, off.
Off, off.
Aw, ow.
Oh, ow.
Hare Krishna. Now that you've seen adults and children learning the phonograms, and you've seen some adults now just completing the pages in the previous little film strips, Now, I will go over them again so that we can see a total picture of all the phonograms. Have a total picture of all of them. Again, a phonogram, here we have phonograms. A phonogram is a single letter or a fixed combination of letters that make one or more sounds. There are 70 phonograms. And we will begin. The first phonogram is B.
चेहऱ्यावर क्लोज.
D. G. Ch. H. Ch. That's our first column of phonograms here. We had two in this column that made two sounds. K, S, and G, Ch. Then we'll do the second column. K.
I think just cut one minute. We'll readjust the thing because I think the Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. We have had a number of little videos of exercises. Earlier in the day we were practicing learning the phonograms with 2 children and 2 teachers in training. And now we were going to do a complete overview so that we can see again at a glance all of them. And we'll repeat phonograms. What is a phonogram? A phonogram is either a single letter or a fixed combination of letters that make one or more sounds. You see them here in black and white. But initially, I teach them with the help of color and patterns so that classification and breakdown is easier for the learner. So even though the script might be a little more difficult to recognize, and perhaps in cases where there's a background color as well as a pattern, a little less easier to recognize, still I prefer to introduce the phonograms with this color classification and picture classification side of the chart, and then later we will, the second time, we'll go through in black and white. Okay? Because the black and white at first is a little intimidating. Okay, so we'll begin now with the phonograms. All right? And we'll do a column at a time, and at the end of a column I will again point out particular features of some of the phonograms. So the first column of 7 of the 10 columns, the first phonogram is pronounced B. We do not say ah or we just say B. The second phonogram has 2 sounds, so it is pronounced K, S. The third phonogram is just one sound, and it is pronounced D. The next phonogram, also a single sound, is pronounced F. The next phonogram has 2 sounds, G, J. This is also 2 sounds, G, J.
Just 1 minute. Sorry.